At our wedding, my mother-in-law scoffed. He can't even afford a proper suit. How will he support my daughter? My wife only smiled. I didn't say a word, but when they knocked on my door a few weeks later, I made them regret what they had said. I never thought I'd be the kind of guy who writes out his personal mess for strangers to read, but here we are. My best friend says I need to get it out before I can really move on, so that's what I'm doing. Just laying it all out raw and honest. I'm not a writer, but this story practically wrote itself one painful chapter at a time. It all started a little over 3 years ago. I was at a birthday party for my cousin, nothing special, just a mix of friends, friends of friends, cheap beer, and loud music. That's where I met her. Her name was Leah. She wasn't supposed to be there, she came with someone I didn't even know all that well. But the moment she walked into the room, everything kind of paused. She had that effortless kind of presence that makes everyone take notice without her trying. The kind of beauty that makes you think, yeah, she's way out of my league, but damn if I'm not going to at least try to talk to her. We ended up next to each other near the snack table, chatting about some random Netflix show we were both watching at the time. Honestly, I couldn't even tell you what show it was now. I remember laughing a lot though. She was smart, quick-witted, warm. I didn't think much would come of it, but she added me on Instagram before she left. I assumed it was just one of those, sure, why not gestures. But when I messaged her the next day, she actually responded. A few days later, we met up for coffee, nothing crazy, just a place downtown known for overhyped latte art and overpriced pastries. I was nervous as hell. Leah looked incredible and I couldn't figure out why someone like her would agree to meet someone like me. But she made it easy. She asked questions about my family, my job, what I like to do on weekends. She talked about working at a dental clinic, said she lived with a roommate in a luxury apartment on the east side. I mentioned I was a site supervisor for a construction company and had been renting a modest 2-bedroom apartment for the past few years. I expected that to be the part where she checked out, but she didn't. Instead, things moved fast. Within a few months, she was spending most nights at my place. Her stuff slowly took over the bathroom sink, then the closet. We joked about how she might as well just live there. But she never gave up her apartment. Said her lease was locked in and her roommate didn't like having guests over. At the time, I didn't think much of it. Looking back, maybe I should have seen that as a red flag. I didn't meet her mom, Veronica, until about 8 months in. Leah had been weirdly cagey about her family, said they were complicated and her mom was kind of intense. But eventually, she arranged a dinner so we could finally meet. We went to this upscale place where the appetizers cost more than my weekly grocery bill. Veronica walked in like she owned the whole damn restaurant, tall, immaculately dressed, not a single hair out of place. From the second she saw me, I felt like I was being inspected like a car she was thinking about buying. She didn't waste time with small talk either. Almost immediately, she started asking me about my 5-year plan, my credit score, my savings. All while side-eyeing my watch, a basic Timex that had sentimental value, but clearly not the kind of accessory that impressed her. When Leah went to the bathroom, Veronica leaned in and said, flat out, my daughter is used to a certain lifestyle. I just hope you understand what that means. I laughed, thinking she was joking. She wasn't. Later that night, I told Leah that her mom was intense. She just shrugged and said her mom had always been that way since her dad left them when she was 12. She said Veronica was protective, maybe a little too much, but meant well. I wanted to believe her. So I let it go. We made it through another year. Ups and downs like any couple. Some arguments, but mostly smooth sailing. And then I proposed. Nothing elaborate. No fireworks, no flash mobs. Just the two of us at the lake where we had our 3rd date. I got down on one knee with a simple ring I'd been saving up for since the beginning of the year. Leah said yes, took about 60 selfies for her Instagram, and before calling any friends, she called her mom. That's when the shift started. Wedding planning turned Leah into someone I barely recognized. Suddenly everything had to be top tier. The venue she wanted was already booked out for over a year. Somehow she got us in within 4 months. She said her mom had connections. Same with the florist. Same with the dress designer. When I asked how we were affording this, she said not to worry, her mom was covering most of it. Only when deposits came due, guess whose credit card got charged? Mine. Every time. I brought it up carefully. I asked if Veronica was planning to reimburse us. Leah would get quiet. Defensive. She'd say things like, my mom is organizing everything. That's her contribution. Or, you don't appreciate how much she's doing for us. It wasn't worth the fight. Or maybe I was just too in love or too blind to push harder. I emptied my savings. Then my emergency fund. Then, and this one still stings, I tapped into what I called my land fund. Money I'd been quietly saving for years, hoping to one day buy a little plot outside the city and build something of my own. Leah never knew about that money. Or so I thought. The wedding day came, and despite everything, I was excited. Nervous, sure. Exhausted, absolutely. But excited. She looked stunning in her dress. The venue, to be fair, was breathtaking. My brother, who's socially awkward to the point of painful, even managed a halfway decent best man speech. Then came the toasts from the parents. My mom said a few sweet words, made me tear up a bit. Then Veronica stood up. Champagne glass in hand, eyes glittering with something I couldn't place, malice, maybe. She started by saying how surprised she was when Leah brought me home. Called me unconventional compared to Leah's past boyfriends. Said Leah had always been drawn to ambitious men with just enough venom in her tone to make her point. People started shifting uncomfortably in their chairs. I locked eyes with my best friend, who gave me the what the hell is happening face. And then Veronica said the line that's been bouncing around in my skull ever since. This poor boy actually thinks he can provide for my daughter. Please. She's just using him until someone better comes along. Silence. Then Leah laughed. Not a polite, awkward, mom-stop kind of laugh. A genuine, open-mouthed laugh, like it was the funniest thing she'd ever heard. I turned to her, waiting for her to correct her mom, to defend me, say anything. She just kept smiling at her mother with that same smug, private look I'd seen them exchange a few times before. Like I wasn't even there. My dad half rose from his chair. He doesn't handle disrespect well. My mom touched his arm and gently pulled him back down. I couldn't move. Couldn't react. Just sat there, frozen, with a stupid smile plastered to my face. Veronica finished with some sarcastic line about enjoying the ride while it lasts, then sat down like she hadn't just detonated a bomb in front of all her friends and family. The DJ, bless his heart, cranked up the music and announced it was time for our first dance. Leah grabbed my hand like nothing had happened, beaming at the crowd, pulling me onto the dance floor. I went through the motions. Danced. Smiled. My brain was spiraling, trying to catch up. Later, back in the hotel room, I asked Leah gently what the hell that toast was about. She rolled her eyes. Said I was overreacting. That her mom had a weird sense of humor that didn't always land. When I asked why she laughed, she snapped. Said she was trying to diffuse the tension and I was ruining our wedding night by being sensitive. I let it go. Because it was our wedding night. Because I didn't want to start our marriage with a fight. But deep down, something cracked. And that's where the real story begins. The morning after the wedding, I woke up before Leah. I just laid there in bed, staring at the ceiling fan as it spun slowly above me. The events of the night before replaying on an endless loop in my head. Veronica's words. Leah's laugh. The way she didn't even try to defend me. I kept asking myself, did that really happen? Or did I somehow misread it all? But I hadn't. And the worst part was how normal everything felt the next day. Leah was smiling, humming to herself while she packed her things for the honeymoon. She kissed me on the cheek like nothing had happened. Like her mother hadn't just publicly humiliated me in front of everyone we cared about. We flew out to Puerto Vallarta for our honeymoon that evening. I tried to shake the weird pit in my stomach. Told myself I was overthinking, being paranoid, letting one night ruin what was supposed to be the start of our forever. Leah was all smiles during the flight. She took pictures of our boarding passes, our hotel suite, the view from the balcony, everything for Instagram. She tagged me in a few, but most of them were carefully curated shots of just her. And when the phone went away, so did the affection. She wasn't cruel or cold exactly, just distant, distracted, half-present, always glued to her phone. When I asked her who she was texting so much, she got defensive. Said I was being controlling, that I was killing the vibe. So I stopped asking. We came home a week later and tried to slip into married life. But things felt off, different. Not in the way you expect after a big event like a wedding. This was deeper, subtle but constant. Leah suddenly became obsessed with the idea of buying a house. Not just any house, a home in one of those elite gated communities on the north side. The kind where the driveways are heated and the mailboxes cost more than my monthly rent. I laughed at first, assuming she was joking. We couldn't afford anything close to that. But she was serious. When I gently pointed out our budget didn't match her wish list, she said her mom would help with the down payment. Right? Her mom. The same woman who called me a placeholder in front of 100 people. I didn't say that out loud. Just nodded and smiled. Again. 3 weeks after the wedding, something happened that shattered what little trust one had left. It was a Thursday. I came home from work early. There had been a water main issue at the site and everything shut down by 11. I didn't text Leah. Just figured I'd surprise her. Maybe grab lunch together. I walked in quietly, not meaning to sneak up. Just not expecting anything out of the ordinary. She was in the bedroom, talking on the phone. She didn't hear me come in. I stopped in the hallway when I heard my name. She was laughing. That light, flirty laugh she used to give me during our first few dates. I swear, David has no idea, she said. Jacob says the timing's perfect. The market's starting to open up again. If we can get the pre-approval, we're golden. My heart stopped. Jacob, the guy she used to date before me. The one her mom always brought up as the ideal partner. Real estate agent. Ivy League degree. Picture perfect LinkedIn. She kept talking, her voice getting lower. Once we establish residency, it's irrelevant. The prenup won't hold. I didn't move. Didn't breathe. What the hell was she talking about? I backed away slowly, walked back outside, sat in my truck for a solid 10 minutes trying not to throw up. Then I walked in again. Loudly this time. Slammed the door, made some fake call on speaker so she'd know I was home. When she came out of the bedroom, her phone was gone, and she looked startled, flushed. But she smiled and asked about my day like everything was fine. That night I couldn't sleep. I stared at the ceiling again, just like I had after the wedding. My brain raced in circles. Every strange moment over the last year, the money, the secrecy, the tension, the way she and Veronica exchanged glances like they had a private script they were following. I knew something was deeply wrong. So while Leah was asleep next to me, I reached over and picked up her phone. She still hadn't changed the passcode. Not since I'd caught her going through my texts a few months earlier. She'd apologized then. Swore it wouldn't happen again. I guess she assumed I wouldn't do the same. The second I unlocked it, I felt sick. There were texts between her and Veronica. Long threads talking about the plan, timelines, legal loopholes, financial angles. Then there were texts with Jacob. Flirty, personal, completely inappropriate for someone who was just an ex. Screenshots of my credit report. Emails she'd forwarded to her mom about my income and job status. There were even articles she'd saved about divorce laws in our state, especially ones involving property division and residency. I sat there for hours reading everything, watching my marriage dissolve one message at a time. They were using me. Had been from the start. The plan was apparently to leverage my stable job and decent credit to secure a mortgage on a high-end property. Then, once they'd established residency, Leah would file for divorce, claiming the house as part of the settlement. In our state, whoever stays in the house during the separation usually has a stronger claim to keep it, especially if the other person can't afford to buy them out. I was the meal ticket. They played the long game. Leah had worn the ring, smiled for the photos, said the vows, all while waiting for the clock to run out. I wanted to wake her up. I wanted to scream. I wanted to throw her phone at the wall and tell her to get the hell out. But something in me stopped. Maybe it was shock. Maybe it was the realization that I'd been living with a stranger. Or maybe, just maybe, it was the cold part of me that had finally woken up and said, don't react. Plan. Because what Leah and Veronica didn't know was that I wasn't as financially helpless as they thought. Yes, I drained my savings on the wedding. Yes, my visible accounts were low. But that land fund I'd mentioned earlier? It wasn't just a savings account. I'd already bought a 5-acre plot outside city limits 3 years ago. Quiet, wooded, paid in full. The deed was in my name only. I'd been slowly preparing to build on it, nothing fancy, just something I could one day call my own. But I'd never told Leah. Not a word. Because even in the early days, something about her made me keep that part of my life to myself. And now, I was glad I had. The next morning, I kissed her on the forehead as she left for work. Told her I loved her. Asked if she wanted Chinese for dinner. She smiled, told me to surprise her. I called in sick for the first time in years. Then I made 3 calls. One to a lawyer. A quiet, older guy my dad had worked with during a property dispute years ago. One to my best friend, Marcus, who ran a small construction crew. and one to my bank to lock down my accounts, set up alerts, and move my important funds where only I could touch them. That afternoon I drove out to my land, stood in the middle of that open clearing and breathed in the silence. I had a plan now. For the next few weeks I became the perfect husband. I smiled. I nodded. I listened to Leah talk about kitchen islands and crown molding. When she pulled up Zillow listings way outside our price range, I acted impressed. When she mentioned Veronica might gift us the down payment, I acted grateful. At night, I pretended to sleep peacefully beside her. And every weekend, I disappeared to help Marcus with a bathroom remodel. In reality, I was building something else entirely. Something just for me. Something she'd never see coming. But that's a story for the next part. There's something strange about living a double life, especially when the person you're deceiving sleeps 2 feet away from you every night. But after what I'd uncovered, I didn't feel guilty. Not even a little. Leah and her mom had been plotting behind my back for months, maybe years. If they thought I was just going to roll over and let it happen, they picked the wrong guy. So I smiled. I listened. I played along. Every morning I made her coffee, packed my lunch, kissed her on the cheek, and left for work. Only I wasn't just going to work. I was also meeting with Marcus and his crew. Guys I'd worked with for years, guys I trusted. I told them I needed help with a personal project. Didn't give them the full story at first, just said I was building a house out on my land and needed it done fast. Marcus raised an eyebrow but didn't push. He's the kind of guy who knows when something's off but won't ask unless you invite him in. That Saturday we met at the land. I told Leah I was helping Marcus remodel a kitchen for one of his clients. She barely looked up from her phone. Just reminded me to not screw up my back again. The second Marcus saw my face, he knew it wasn't about any damn remodel. We walked the land together, stepping over piles of lumber I'd been stockpiling for years. I showed him the foundation, a concrete slab I'd poured 2 summers ago when Leah was visiting her aunt in Florida. It was solid. Perfect. Meant for a home I thought I'd build with her. Funny how things change. When I finally told him the truth, the fake love, the plan to use me, the texts, the recordings, Marcus sat down on a stack of drywall and just shook his head. Dude, he said, that's some next-level soap opera crap. Then he looked at me and asked, you want to burn it all down or build something better? Both, I said. And meant it. We got to work that day. Framing, plumbing, electrical, I knew every inch of that build. We worked fast, nights and weekends, using salvaged materials from job sites, favors from friends, and every connection I had. I pulled every string, called in every favor, and paid out of pocket for the rest. The crew jokingly started calling it the Spite House. At first it was just a joke. But after a while, the name stuck. While we worked, Leah was home planning our dream future with her mom. She started leaving real estate brochures out on the kitchen counter. Started casually mentioning that her mom's friend, some guy in real estate, had found a few homes that would be just perfect for us. She never used his name, but I knew who it was, Jacob. The same Jacob from the phone call. The same Jacob from the flirty texts. I kept my mouth shut. Then one night, she left her phone on the kitchen counter while she was in the shower. A text from Veronica popped up. Jacob found the one. Showing is set for Sunday. I snapped a quick photo and left the phone exactly where it was. At this point, I had a folder on my laptop filled with screenshots, recordings, emails, everything. My lawyer, Mr. Grayson, was impressed. He said most people come in with suspicions, not receipts. You're doing better than most before the divorce even starts, he told me. Just stay quiet and stay smart. That advice became my mantra. Around that time, my boss pulled me aside at work. He'd known me since I was 19. Gave me my first construction job. He'd heard about what I was building out on my land and figured something was up. I guess word gets around when a guy suddenly starts building a house in secret. You good, son? He asked. I wanted to lie. Say yes. But instead, I told him the truth. Everything. He didn't say much, just nodded slowly, then clapped a hand on my shoulder. You finished that house, he said. And when you're ready, come see me. I'll get you a promotion. Someone like you, with that much focus, deserves better than what she's giving you. That moment meant more than he probably realized. A few days later, Leah told me her mom had found the perfect starter home for us and wanted to take us to see it on Sunday morning. Sure, I said. Actually, I've got a surprise for you two. Her eyes lit up, but not in the good way. More like a predator sensing wounded prey. What kind of surprise? She asked. Something I've been working on for us, I said. She tried to play it cool, but I could see the gears turning. She thought I was finally falling in line. That I'd found a house. that I was ready to play their game. She texted her mom about the schedule. Everything was set. Sunday morning, Leah dressed like she was going to an open house on a reality show. Hair curled. Heels. Light makeup. Big fake smile. We drove separately in case she went shopping with her mom after. Fine by me. The house Veronica showed us was a joke. Big, bland, expensive 4 bedrooms, 3.5 baths, granite everything. Jacob was there too, playing the part of friendly real estate guy. He wore this tailored button-up and shook my hand with a fake smile that made my skin crawl. I played along. Asked questions about square footage, HOA fees, taxes. Veronica kept saying things like, "Don't worry about the numbers. We'll make it work." Leah was practically glowing. After an hour, I checked my watch. "We should head out," I said. "I've got that surprise to show you." Leah tried to get out of it, said she was tired, maybe we could do it another time. "No," I said, locking eyes with her. "It's important." She agreed. I told her to bring Veronica and Jacob too. The more, the merrier. She looked suspicious but curious. They followed me in their cars. We drove out of the nice suburb. Through the city. Past the last gas station. Onto country roads. Leah's face changed the further we went. Her expression tightened. Her lips pursed. Finally, we pulled onto the gravel drive leading up to my land. At the top of the hill, the Spite House came into view. Fresh siding. Bright yellow paint. Solar panels on the roof. A wide porch with handmade railings. It looked ridiculous and bold and alive. I parked, stepped out, and waited. Leah's car stopped hard behind me. I heard gravel skid under her tires. She stepped out slowly. Veronica followed, Jacob behind them both. "What is this?" Leah asked, voice tight. "This," I said calmly, "is what I've been working on. For weeks. While you and your mom have been planning to screw me over." They froze. Veronica's eyes narrowed. "Excuse me. I know everything," I said. "The texts. The calls. The plan to use me for a mortgage, establish residency, and file for divorce before the prenup kicks in. You really thought I wouldn't find out?" Leah's face drained of color. Veronica tried to recover first. "You're paranoid. This is ridiculous. You've clearly lost your mind." I pulled my phone from my pocket and hit record. Leah's voice cracked. "David, wait." "No," I said. "You waited. You schemed. You laughed at your wedding when your mother humiliated me. And now you're going to stand here and listen." Veronica scoffed. "You think this clown house impresses anyone?" "No," I said. "But the deed's in my name. The land's mine. Paid in full before I even met Leah. Which makes it, legally, not marital property." They both fell silent. Leah tried one more tactic, tears. "I didn't mean it," she whispered. "I got caught up in my mom's plans. But I love you. We can work this out." I looked at her. At the woman I once thought I'd spend my life with. "I already talked to a lawyer," I said. "The divorce papers are being finalized. You can keep the ring and whatever you brought into the marriage. The rest stays with me." Her tears vanished like smoke. Her face hardened. "You were never good enough for me," she snapped. "Jacob makes 3 times what you do. I faked everything with you, even in bed." Veronica joined in. "You're pathetic. You think building some ugly house makes you a man? My daughter deserves more than you could ever offer." I let them rant. Because my phone was still recording. Because this was the last time I ever wanted to hear their voices. When they finally stopped, I nodded. "You have until tomorrow to pack your things and leave my apartment. It's in my name, by the way. So no, you don't have a right to stay." They sputtered more threats, lawsuits, revenge, "You'll regret this." I walked away. Didn't say another word. Just climbed the steps to my porch. And shut the door. You'd think after calling someone out in front of their mother and shady ex on the driveway of a house they didn't even know existed, things would get dramatic. Like full-on fireworks dramatic. But it was oddly quiet. Leah and Veronica left without another word that day. Veronica stomped back to her car like she'd been personally insulted by the very existence of my siding color. Jacob didn't even look at me. Just kept his eyes down, following behind them like a dog that had been kicked too many times. I stayed on the porch until their taillights disappeared down the hill. Then I went back inside, sat on the unfinished hardwood floor of the living room and just breathed. No furniture. No appliances. No Leah. And for the first time in a long time, it felt like mine. Later that night, I drove back to the apartment. Leah was already there, pacing. She didn't say anything when I walked in. Just watched me silently as I grabbed a duffel bag from the closet and started packing some of my stuff, important documents, a few clothes, my dad's old toolbox. "You're leaving?" she finally asked, her voice small. Yeah, I said. I'll be staying with Marcus for a while. She nodded like that made sense. Then she hit me with something I didn't see coming. I think we should go to counseling. I turned to look at her. She was holding her arms across her stomach like she was trying to keep herself from falling apart. You've been plotting a divorce since before the wedding, I said slowly. With your mom. With your ex. Her eyes filled with tears. I know. I know how it looks. But I got caught up. My mom, she gets in my head. I was confused. But I love you. I do. You building that house, it showed me how serious you were about our future. Maybe we can fix this. For a split second, I wavered. Not because I believed her, but because it's hard to turn off feelings even when you know someone never truly had your best interest at heart. But then she stepped closer. Reached out. Let her hand rest on my thigh. We don't have to talk about it now, she whispered. Maybe we start in the bedroom. Just reconnect. And just like that, the illusion shattered. I moved her hand. No, I said. That's not how this ends. Her face shifted instantly. The softness disappeared. The warmth drained out like someone flipped a switch. You're making the biggest mistake of your life, she spat. I zipped up my bag and threw it over my shoulder. Then I'll take my chances. She called me names as I walked out, pathetic, stupid, worthless. It didn't touch me. I'd already heard worse from her mother from her. By morning, she was gone. Took more than just her clothes, of course. My grandfather's old watch was missing. So were the wireless earbuds I just bought. Petty stuff. I let it go. The apartment felt different without her. Not empty, lighter. I ordered pizza. Opened a beer. Watched a stupid action movie I'd been wanting to see for months, the one Leah always rolled her eyes at. That piece lasted exactly 17 hours. The next morning, my phone blew up. Texts from friends. DMs from old coworkers. Even an email from my high school ex. Apparently, Leah had gone nuclear on Facebook. A long, tear-soaked post about how I'd deceived her, trapped her in a loveless marriage, and built a house just to emotionally abuse her. She included photos of the spite house, taken from a low angle to make it look as ridiculous as possible. Comments were wild. Her friends were tearing into me, calling me manipulative, heartless, toxic. A few people asked for details, and Leah, predictably, ignored those. My mom had even gotten involved, replying to one of the comments, defending me. I called her and begged her to stop. She's not worth it, I said. Neither were the last 3 casseroles I baked for her, she replied. But I did it anyway. I hate wasted effort. Can't argue with that logic. I logged off. Let Leah have her pity party online. I had the truth. The documentation. And, most importantly, the freedom. But she wasn't done. She started texting me directly, first angry, then desperate. You need to fix this. You humiliated me. I didn't mean it, I swear. Please, can we talk? I miss you. Blocked. Then she started showing up. Once in the parking lot at my job. Another time she bumped into me at the grocery store near Marcus Place. Once she brought Jacob. Like parading him in front of me would spark jealousy. He looked like he wanted to be anywhere else. After the 3rd time, I called my lawyer and had him send a formal cease and desist. She finally stopped showing up for a while. The divorce proceedings, surprisingly, were straightforward. No kids. No joint assets. The spite house, as Mr. Grayson clarified, was legally mine and not subject to division. Leah tried to contest it at first, claiming emotional damages. Said I'd been planning to hurt her emotionally by building a house behind her back. Her lawyer must have realized how ridiculous it sounded because within a few weeks they agreed to a clean split. No alimony. No property division. The mediation session was the last time I saw her in person. She showed up dressed to the nines, full makeup, designer coat, like she was auditioning for a courtroom drama. Her lawyer tried to make some weak argument about the marital value of the house. Grayson calmly pointed out that I'd owned the land before our relationship, funded the build myself, and that the appraised value had risen, not because of her, but because of rising land prices in the area. We had pictures. Permits. Invoices. Her lawyer folded. The mediator actually smiled at one point when looking at the documentation. I don't think that happens often in divorce court. Leah's face when she realized she was walking away with nothing? Priceless. Probably the same expression she imagined I'd have when she eventually left me for Jacob and tried to keep the house. Speaking of Jacob, he wasn't nearly as loyal to her as she probably hoped. About a month after I moved out, a mutual acquaintance told me Jacob was seeing someone new, a real estate client with an actual investment portfolio. Leah apparently lost it. Showed up at his office. Security had to escort her out. Word got around quickly after that. Turns out Veronica had a reputation. She'd been coaching Leah through this kind of behavior for years. Nothing illegal, just predatory. Date men with resources. Use them. Leave them. A few women from Veronica's country club started pulling away. She lost her spot on the charity committee. Invitations to social events suddenly stopped showing up. She wasn't persona non grata, but she wasn't welcome either. Me? I got my life back. Moved out of Marcus Place and into a small rental on the edge of town. Cozy. Cheap. Quiet. My boss kept his word and gave me a promotion and a raise. Said he'd never seen someone handle a personal crisis so methodically. I told him spite was a hell of a motivator. He laughed and said, "Remind me never to get on your bad side." The spite house? We tore it down. Not out of anger. It just served its purpose. It wasn't built to last, it was built to prove a point. And it did. But the land? Still mine. Cleaned up. Cleared. Maybe one day I'll build the real house I planned from the start. Just for me this time. Maybe not. I've gone on a few dates since. Nothing serious yet. Dating after something like this feels weird. But it's nice to be reminded that not every woman is Leah. The most unexpected part? I ran into Harper, one of Leah's old bridesmaids, at Home Depot. We almost collided carts. She looked horrified to see me. I was about to walk away, pretend it never happened, but she stopped me. Said she'd wanted to apologize. She told me she knew Leah was manipulative, but she hadn't realized how deep it went until after the wedding. Said she distanced herself after Leah cut her off for suggesting therapy before the wedding. We grabbed coffee. She filled me in on the aftermath, how Leah and Veronica had to move to a smaller place, how Leah's loan for a dental specialization got denied, how Jacob ghosted both of them. Nothing romantic between me and Harper, she's engaged now, but it helped to talk to someone who knew the full picture. Who could confirm I wasn't crazy. That it had all actually happened. The last contact from Leah came a few weeks ago. She showed up at my new place. I wasn't home. My neighbor said she sat in her car outside for almost an hour. Then left. I haven't heard from her since. And I hope I never do. Yeah? Now I wake up, drink my coffee on the porch, listen to the birds instead of phone notifications. I play basketball on Thursdays with a few guys from work. I'm learning to cook something other than spaghetti. Marcus' dog sleeps at my place on the weekends when he's out of town. I'm thinking about getting one of my own. Normal life. And it feels good. Last week, I finally pulled the original house plans out of storage. The ones I drew up when I thought Leah and I had a future. I looked them over. Then I shredded them. Poured a beer. Sat on the back steps. Watched the sun go down. Then I opened a fresh notepad and started sketching something new. Smaller. Simpler. Smarter. Just for me. Because if there's one thing I learned from all of this, it's that when someone shows you who they really are, believe them. And when they laugh at you on your wedding day, walk away and build something better.